Hello and welcome. I am Alan, and today we are doing our news and review for the week of May the 11th through 17th. I think because I didn't change the dates on this, but I believe it is 11 through 17. And with that said, let's go ahead and see if we can take a look at everything that's been going on this week. Let's, of course, as always, start with sports. We know the NFL and the NCAA football, NCAA basketball is over, but let's start with the NBA, which is in the midst of playoffs. So let's see. I don't want to look at it on Twitter. There we go. NBA.com playoffs. And it's taking its time. Pull it on up. Oh well. How about you just show me the playoff brackets, people? Instead of news, recaps. No, just show me the bracket. That's all I really need to see. There we go. Complete playoff bracket. I don't care about news and recaps and videos. I just want to see the damn brackets. Come on now. But of course, with having crap internet and a computer that's slowly starting to feel the squeeze on it, everything's moving so slowly. What are you going to do, though? It's just one of those things. It's taking its time, slow as can be. NBA.com is part of Turner Sports Digital. Wow. And you've stopped. I said, playoff bracket. Come on now. Work with me. There you go. Uh, Taking its time. It's loading it up. Here we go. We are at the conference finals finally. In the West, it looks like the Golden State Warriors and the Portland Trail Blazers, with Golden State leading 2-0. And in the East, the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Toronto Raptors. The Milwaukee Bucks leading 2-0. So that's it for the NBA. Let's take a look at the NHL. And we'll just go right there. Stanley Cup playoffs. See, now that pulled up a lot quicker. I'm glad that actually works. In the West, it was the St. Louis Blues versus the San Jose Sharks. And currently that matchup is tied 2-2. But in the East, it was the Boston Bruins versus the Carolina Hurricanes. And the Bruins swept the Hurricanes 4-0 to go to the Stanley Cup Finals. So they'll be waiting for the winner of the Blues and Sharks, which will give them an advantage, some time to rest up. Now, let's look at the Major League Baseball standings. Close out NHL. Pull up baseball standings. In the AL East, the Tampa Bay Rays holding on to that narrow lead over the New York Yankees. The Rays with a record of 27-16, but the Yankees with a record of 27-17. So only a half-game difference. Boston is behind the Rays 4.5, and the Yankees 4, followed by Toronto and then Baltimore. In the AL Central, Minnesota leads the division 29-15 its record. Its closest competitor, the Cleveland Indians, are 5 games back at 24-20. And they are followed by the Chicago White Sox, the Detroit Tigers, and the Kansas City Royals. And in the AL West, the Houston Astros lead the division by 8.5 games. Their record is 30-15. And the Angels and the Texas Rangers are tied right behind the Astros. And Oakland and the Seattle Mariners are not far behind the Angels and Rangers. So while Houston is way out there, all 4 teams under it are fighting to stay in contention. Now let's skip over to the NL. In the NL East, the Philadelphia Phillies lead the division at 26-19. Their closest competitors are the Atlanta Braves, 2 games behind. And they're followed up by the New York Mets, the Washington Nationals, and the Miami Marlins. In the NL Central, Chicago Cubs lead the division at 26-16. Their closest competitor are the Milwaukee Brewers, a game and a half behind. And they're followed by the Pittsburgh Pirates, the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Cincinnati Reds. And in the West, we have the Los Angeles Dodgers leading the NL West at 30-17. Their closest competitors 4 games behind is the Arizona Diamondbacks. And they're followed by the San Diego Padres, then the Colorado Rockies, and the San Francisco Giants, rounding out the division. And that is currently how Major League Baseball looks. Now, Premier League Soccer. I think it's still going on. 5-12. Did it finally finish? Like I said, I don't know exactly how Premier League functions, but let's take a look at the standings as of now. Number 1 team in the league is Manchester City at a record of 32 wins, 4 losses, and 2 draws. They have a total of 98 points. They're 1 point above Liverpool, who has 97, but has a record of 30 wins, 1 loss, and 7 draws. Then there's a bit of a fall off with the next team, Chelsea. They have 72 points, and their record is 21 wins, 8 losses, 9 draws. Right behind them with 71 points is Tottenham with a record of 23 wins, 13 losses, and 2 draws. And closely following up behind them is Arsenal with 70 points. So 72, 71, and then 70. Arsenal has a record of 21 wins, 10 losses, 7 draws. That brings us to Manchester United, rounding out the top 6. Manchester United has 19 wins, 10 losses, 9 draws, and a total of 66 points. And that is the Premier League. With that done, let's take a look at science. What has been going on? taking its time, loading up. Didn't want you to highlight everything. RNA-based passive immunotherapy, and I cannot see what that says. You're going to have to go back. Next Gen Voices, preventing burnout. A contact binary in the Kuiper belt. Exploration through active observation completion. Hearing and ear infection. That's interesting. Europe abandons plans for flagship billion-euro research projects. Defining the diverse states of macrophages. Those are some of the headlines there. Top story, super black spiders. The Wood Wide Web. Not world, the Wood Wide Web. And an antivenom funding infusion. Good. All right. Let's go over to our other science site and see what else we have kind of going on here. ScienceNews.org. Key parts of a fruit fly's genetic makeup have been decoded. So yeah, the black spiders, microscopic bumps on the male Marlis species or speciosus, I guess. Peacock spiders make some of their black patches appear even darker, which may help the arachnids attract a mate. An experiment hints at quantum entanglement inside protons. Okay, what else have we got? Some dog breeds may have trouble breathing because of a mutated gene. Bedbugs have feasted on prey for 100 million years. Fossil teeth push the human Neanderthal split back to about 1 million years ago. China's lunar rover may have found minerals from the moon's mantle. Tweaking one gene with CRISPR switched the way a snail shell spirals. Wow. And that's it for scientific news. Now, let's look back at this day in history. So 11 through 17. Change. No, I said the 11th. Change the date. There you go. May the 11th, 1934. Dust storm sweeps from the Great Plains across the eastern states, as far east as New York, Boston, and Atlanta. What else happened on May the 11th? May the 11th, 1858. Minnesota enters the Union and becomes the 32nd state. May the 11th, 1997. The IBM supercomputer Deep Blue beats chess champion Garry Kasparov. Let's see. What else do we have? Uh, do, do. All right, let's look at May the 12th. There wasn't too much that happened on the 11th. Come on now. There you go. May the 12th, 1932. Kidnapped Lindbergh baby found dead. May the 12th, 1970. Harry A. Blackmun confirmed to the Supreme Court. May the 12th, 1937. George the Sixth is crowned King of the United Kingdom. Let's see. May the 12th, 1903. Teddy Roosevelt's trip to San Francisco is captured on film, making him the first American president to ever have an official activity recorded on film, so on picture film. Let's see. May the 12th, 1780. The American rebels suffer their worst defeat of the American Revolution at Charleston, South Carolina. After a siege that began on April the 2nd, 1780, Americans suffered their worst defeat of the Revolution on this day in 1780, with the unconditional surrender of Major General Benjamin Lincoln to British Lieutenant Sir Henry Clinton and his army of 10,000 at Charleston, South Carolina. Now, let's look at the 13th. It's a taking its time. Taking its time. Let's see. May the 13th, 1846, the U.S. Congress declares war on Mexico, starting the Mexican-American War, which of course is right before the American Civil War. May the 13th, 1981, Pope John Paul II is shot. May the 13th, 1568, Mary Queen of Scots is defeated. May the 13th, 1607, Jamestown settlers arrive in North America, creating the first permanent English settlement in North America. Let's see, what else happened on May the 13th? May the 13th, 1898. Thomas Edison sues over the new motion picture technology. Edison sues the American Mutoscope Company, claiming that the studio has infringed on his patent for the kinetograph movie camera. All right. Now let's look at May the 14th. There we go. May the 14th, 1804, Lewis and Clark depart to explore the Northwest. And because before that point, we'd only known about up to the Mississippi River. May the 14th, 1948. The State of Israel is proclaimed. And look, I have no problem with wanting to help one group, but you can't do it at the expense of another. And that's what bothers me about the whole Israel thing. So, anyway. Now, let's see. What else happened on the 14th? That seems to be it that we really need to pay attention to. So let's take a look at the 15th. May the 15th, 1937. Madeleine Albright becomes first female Secretary of State. She is born. So Madeleine Albright, who would become the first female Secretary of State, is born. What else happened on May the 15th? May the 15th, 1982, Ebony and Ivory begins a 7-week run at the #1 spot on the pop charts. Uh, do, do, do. May the 15th, 1973, pitcher Nolan Ryan pitches his first no-hitter, pitching it for the California Angels. Okay, anything else? May the 15th, 1988, the Soviets begin their withdrawal from Afghanistan. The Soviets couldn't conquer it, so why are we still there 18 years later? We should have been there if we couldn't find Bin Laden, leave. There's no reason we should have ever gone into Iraq, period. It just baffles me. It shows Trump's a moron for hiring John Bolton, that piece of crap war hawk. May the 16th. May the 16th, 1929, the first Academy Awards ceremony. What else happened on May the 16th? May the 16th, 2014, pioneering TV journalist Barbara Walters signs off. May the 15th, 1975, Japanese woman scales Mount Everest. Junko Tabe. Let's see. May the 16th, 1770, the French Dauphin Louis, who would later become King Louis, marries Marie Antoinette, who is the daughter of an Austrian archduchess. They would end up being the last king and queen, as they would be executed. May the 16th, 1964, Mary Wells gives Motown Records its first #1 hit with My Guy, talking about my guy, my guy. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I can't sing worth anything, so I apologize. All right. May the 16th, 1868, Senate acquits President Andrew Johnson of high crimes and misdemeanors. Meaning, the few times we've had impeachments, it's never worked. Andrew Johnson's been impeached, but he was acquitted. Bill Clinton was impeached, but acquitted. They wanted to impeach Nixon, he resigned. It's hard to find a guilty verdict on an impeachment. Let's see. May the 16th, 1960. U.S.-Soviet summit meeting collapses after a U-2 spy plane is shot down. Now, the pilot of that plane is from my hometown. That's the only reason we really know about that incident. His name was Francis Gary Powers. So that's one of the few reasons we're so familiar with that incident, because the U-2 pilot was from my hometown, which is one of the few things to ever come out of here. Now, May the 17th, 1954, Brown versus the Board of Education is decided. So we have that. What else happened? May the 17th, 2004, the first legal same-sex marriage performed in Massachusetts. May the 17th, 1965, the FBI laboratory weighs in on the dirty lyrics of Lo-L-O-I, oh, wow. Oh, everybody wants to see something that's hidden from immediate sight, but conspiracies, if rarely, ever turn out to be true. Let's see. What else? And that's it as far as history goes. Now, we're going to kind of switch it up before I do news. I'm going to do the 10 idiots of the week. In no particular order. Donald Trump, for being the moron he usually is, I swear. He's one of the absolutely dumbest people. And people are like, hey, he's so smart. No, he's not. You look at his plans, how he talks, he's not intelligent one bit. I laugh when people are like, hey, he's smart. Then we have Cade Cothran for doctoring an email to frame an activist and claiming the email took about 6 days to receive. Oh, you sneaky, sneaky snake. I can't remember what state it was, but he was one of the state Secretary of State assistants. Not on the U.S. level, but the state level. Next, James Charles for hitting on straight men because he said he had the right to because he's famous. I don't care if you're homosexual, heterosexual, whatever. But being famous does not give you rights to do things that you normally couldn't do. Moron. Meghan McCain for saying that science proves life begins at conception. Meghan, no it doesn't. No it doesn't. Quite the opposite, actually. Why do people listen to her? Joe Biden for still proving he's a gaffe machine and a sellout. Still proving it. Saying, lobbyists aren't evil, but if they pay you money, you're going to want to help them. And I'm like, really? Really? That's one of the biggest problems in politics. You moron! Kadisha Bishop for having no control over her anger and causing the eventual death of an elderly man. Cory Booker for whining about Pete Buttigieg getting more attention than he is. You have to prove your policies, son. You can't just assume, I deserve more attention. No. Prove it with your policies. John Bolton for continuing his war criminal ways and pushing propaganda to go to war with Iran and trying to get us into a war with Venezuela. I swear, he should be nowhere near the reins of power. He's the reason we got into Iraq and Afghanistan. He's a moron. Howard Schultz for whining that Bernie Sanders might get the nomination. Then he'll have to enter the race to spoil Bernie's chances. Because he doesn't like being rich and targeted. He should have freedom since he's so wealthy. No, you have to pay your fair share. That's what's wrong with you wealthy people, moron. God, he's an idiot. And finally, Georgia Representative Doug Collins for wanting to tack amendments onto an LGBT anti-discrimination law in Congress. An actual law that will prevent discrimination against the LGBT community. And he's whining, oh, but we should have the right to tack amendments. No! You can't just let the thing pass? You've got to tack amendments onto it? You're an idiot. And that was the top 10 idiots of the week. Now, let's look at the news stories of the week. The Rational National, David Dole goes over an MSNBC clip of Bernie Sanders explaining why going to a Medicare for all system is better than retooling Obamacare. It is! It's fact! Vice News. A video that shows the current conflict between those trying to protect dolphins and fishermen in France. Democracy Now! A story suggesting that whistleblowers are in danger as there are attacks on freedom of the press. MCSC Network. Nico House shows a clip of Joe Biden saying that lobbyists aren't bad and that he would just continue a middle-of-the-road act and may likely take lobbyist money. And we know he is now. He's taking big lobbyist money. Sunday. Last week tonight, John Oliver with a great clip on what the Green New Deal truly is and how it benefits everyone. The Rational National. David makes a point of how he doesn't understand why there aren't stronger gun laws with so many shootings, notably the most recent school shooting in Colorado. And he's right. They'll fight and claw and scratch to get anti-abortion bills up. We gotta protect the unborn babies. But when it comes to actual people getting shot, but what about gun rights? Well, little bitch. Whew. Excuse me. Vice News, a look at the arable land situation in South Africa and the rise of the EFF. WATE in Knoxville, Tennessee. A Boeing 737 had to make an emergency landing shortly after takeoff after reporting problems with the nose gear. On Monday, Secular Talk, Kyle Kalinske points out Trump's stupidity when he said that he just didn't want Iran to make a nuclear weapon, even though that was what was actually going on in the Iran deal Trump pulled the U.S. out of. I swear Trump's a moron. Status coup. Joe Biden going to $15 million fundraiser held by MGM CEO. On Tuesday, Secular Talk. Trump appoints former Boeing executive Patrick Shanahan as the defense secretary. And you got to remember, Boeing does not only aerospace, but defense technology. So, this is the guy who helped develop defense technology. He's suddenly the defense secretary. I wonder who that will benefit. Status coup. Jordan Charlton points out an MSNBC piece in which Bernie points out how the polls are currently tilted in Biden's favor. The Humanist Report. Mike Figueredo shows how conservatives took words out of context from Rashida Tlaib to spin what she said that she said the Holocaust was good, which she didn't. If you listen to the whole thing, you realize she was trying to say, as horrible as the Holocaust was, it was good that my ancestors, the Palestinians, still welcomed the Israelis. But no, the Republicans lie. and try to attack her. Democracy Now! Former Iranian ambassador warns that John Bolton, along with the Saudi, Israeli, and UAE leaders, could drag the U.S. into a war with Iran. The MCSC network. Nico House talks about the Congressional Black Caucus is looking at a Biden and Kamala Harris ticket. And C-SPAN, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez gives a speech on why we must accept a Green New Deal. Now, on Wednesday, the Rational National, Ontario Premier Doug Ford booed at the Special Olympics. Secular Talk, Fox News and the right wing continue to smear Ilhan Omar and lie about what she stands for. I swear they can't stand it because someone who has a Muslim faith is elected to office. They're such whiny little bitches. The right wing is. They're the whiniest people I've ever seen. And the most conniving. They use cheap tactics. Also on Secular Talk, Kyle Kulinski shows how the Trump administration wants to change how poverty is calculated so that he can make his economy look even better. So even though it's doing good for the rich, he wants to change how poverty looks so he can say, look, it's even benefiting the poor. Which it's not. The poor are suffering. And Trump's helped them none. The Humanist Report. The Alabama abortion ban bill made it to Governor Kay Ivey's desk. Or no, not Kay Ivey. Made it to the governor. No, it is Alabama. Kay Ivey's governor's desk and fully bans all abortions and leaves no exceptions for incest or rape. They are performing, if they make, they're making performing an abortion a felony. Vox. An explanation of why drugs cost vastly more money in the U.S. than in other countries. This brings us to Thursday's news. Philip DeFranco, an interesting story on the use of the adversity score. Status Coup, a conversation with Nancy Pelosi's 2020 primary challenger, Shahid Buttar. The Rational National, Kamala Harris fact-checks CNN's Jake Tapper, showing how bad CNN is truly at news. Secular Talk, Trump's administration making plans to invade Iran and send 120,000 troops. Also on Secular Talk, religious leader Pat Robertson says the Alabama anti-abortion law goes too far. The Humanist Report, Biden wants middle ground on climate change, which we cannot afford. We need serious adaptations to fight the carbon growth. I mean, there is fact that the temperature is rising and we're getting in a greenhouse gas situation in which essentially nothing's going to be able to live. Plants, animals, anything. Sea levels are rising. We see proof of it. There's still morons out there that want to believe climate change is not real. It's made up by 97% of scientists. They're paid millions. No, they're not. Idiots. People are such morons. Vice News. A look at why immigrants feel they must enter the country illegally. And Democracy Now! The EPA says Monsanto is safe, especially its use of Roundup, but a jury says the use of Roundup does cause cancer and Monsanto must pay $2 billion. Friday. Philip DeFranco, a look at the illegal gold mining town in Peru named La Rinconada. Status Quo, Jordan interviews Mike Gravel. Secular Talk, Biden proclaims the GOP will have an epiphany once Trump is gone. No. No, they won't. Also on Secular Talk, Joe Biden brags about supporting the border fence. Nothing to brag about, boy. Also on Secular Talk, the anti-BDS bill passes in Florida. So they're trying to kiss Israel's right-wing government's butt so much they try to ban BDS, boycott, divest, sanction. Morons. The Humanist Report. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez pushes back on Big Pharma and its tendency to gouge the average users with extraordinarily high drug prices. Tim Black TV, the Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard push back on the likely war with Iran. And finally, Vice News. Women push back on Georgia's anti-abortion law. And that is it for our week in review of May the 11th to May the 17th. I'm posting this so late that it's gotten dark outside and where I haven't turned the light on. It's kind of dark in here, as you can see. I'll get in a little closer. But, as always, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. Don't be a moron like Bolton or Trump. And I'll see you all again in the next video. But until then, later.